Was Battlefield 2042 really that bad? Yes it was. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. That's the video. Okay, look, jokes aside, guys, coming back to 2042 after the Battlefield 6 open beta has been one hell of a rollercoaster ride. Like, it is wild to me that these two games have ultimately come from the same studio and franchise, yet placed side by side, they feel like they belong in completely different franchises. And look, I will be honest here in saying that Battlefield 2042 has gotten somewhat better over the years since its abysmal launch. Like, yeah, to the point where it doesn't feel like a complete and total turd to play like it did on day one. I also acknowledge that that is an incredibly low bar to overcome, but the fact that I can actually load up 2042 these days and have a somewhat passable time with it, the changes, the fixes, and the updates that DICE did to it over the years have certainly pushed it in the right direction towards being, a tolerable first-person shooter game. That to me is worth highlighting, but here's the caveat and the kicker to that, guys. It still doesn't feel like a good Battlefield game, and that's a big difference worth highlighting here. The difference between a good first-person shooter game and a good first-person shooter game that's also a good Battlefield game. Because Battlefield 6 has really illustrated that difference to me in our time of playing it. I've been really thinking about this over the past few days since I've been grinding out this new Battle Pass, and we actually ended up talking about this very thing on my live stream a couple of days ago, Twitch link in the description down below by the way. But Battlefield 2042, despite all of the work and all of the steps it has taken towards getting back to what Battlefield should feel like, to me, it still doesn't feel like a Battlefield game. Sure, it ticks the bare bones must-haves of the franchise to be in the franchise. It has classes, it has 4-player squads, it has vehicles, large maps, and of course some of the classic game modes. Fantastic. By rigid definition, it is a Battlefield game. But after playing 6 and coming back to 2042, I don't know, man, the game just lacks so much aura, I guess? Can't believe I just said that. I feel like the old man trying to appease to the youth of today. But you guys get what I mean, right? The game just lacks any sense of feeling like a Battlefield game due to a couple of things, but they stem from both visual design stuff as well as gameplay design stuff. I actually talked about this in a YouTube short that did some serious numbers a couple of years ago, so there's actually half a chance that you guys have heard this take from me in the past. But one of the biggest things that I can't get over is the fact that, well, in Battlefield games, you typically feel like this small cog in the wheel of a very large machine, an element of a large army that is all punching towards the final victory. Everyone in that army was a generic, nameless soldier, both on your team as well as on the enemy team. Soldiers weren't named, there were no unique abilities that sat outside the purview of being a gadget in your loadout, and I think most importantly, no one had any crappy or cringe voice lines that tried to make them quippy, likable, Marvel-esque characters. Battlefield was always about the clash of two armies in big, explosive, destructive fashion. That's not the case with Battlefield 2042 at all. Specialists, of which hold stark and distinct visual designs, appear on both teams simultaneously, and they often look the same despite what factions they are on. So what it tends to feel like is a bunch of clones just running around beating the absolute snot out of each other in some dystopian-esque future. It doesn't feel like armies clashing, but more like a bunch of people fighting for the copyright rights to their facial structures, especially if you catch two Battlefield grandma folks clashing on the battlefield against each other. And when I see stuff like this, guys, which happens all the time in Battlefield 2042, my immersion is just immediately shattered. I'm taken out of the experience because I've just witnessed a Falk from Russia and the US come to ends with each other. It just feels generic and soulless. A visual design that for me makes it feel like this is the closest Battlefield has ever gotten to feeling like a Call of Duty game, at least aesthetically, if I'm being honest. And before anyone mentions it, because this was something I actually copped a lot on in my YouTube short a few years ago, yes, generic soldiers who all have the same-ish skin, who are on the same faction, are a massive difference to specialists and how they are designed in this game. For one, they hold a unique appearance based on the team that they're on. I mean, that alone is a massive step to the immersion factor than what we have here in Battlefield 2042. But on top of that, they aren't some named character, you know? They are a medic, an assault, an engineer, you get the idea. They are just units on the board of the battle, rather than, you know, named heroes. I don't know, that alone hits so different with a Battlefield game, and in playing Battlefield 6 so much in the open beta, that appreciation for the generic soldier approach has become so much clearer to me after going back again to BF 2042. Another thing that just really kills my immersion in 2042 as well, that I've come to insanely appreciate with Battlefield 6's gameplay design, is just how weightless everything feels in 2042. The way that vehicles carry the momentum, the way infantry movement is designed, the way in which the interactions with the environment happen. I don't know, man, it just kind of feels like everything in this game is constantly covered in butter, and we're just, you know, sliding around the whole time. There's no viscerality or connection to the game world from the player's inputs perspective. It feels too pure, too clean, like the complete opposite of how a world torn by war and climate change should feel. There's no element of grit to the gameplay. Now, this is a problem from an aesthetic perspective, yes, but also from a gameplay design perspective too. The way in which movement mechanics feel to manipulate really speeds the pace of the game up and makes Battlefield 2042's movement feel hyper-aggressive at many points, at least for me, by comparison to previous entries in the franchise. Like, I know that Battlefield 4 had some insane movement tech that you could expose as a really high-skill player, but the core movement of the game, and, you know, the movement that 99% of the player base was interacting with, felt a lot more grounded than what we see in Battlefield 2042. And sure, Battlefield 6 also has a bunch of movement tech options available to it, such as sliding, but even the slide in that game feels more grounded in its implementation. It's more of a utility function rather than something that lets you turn your knees into a personal skateboard and yeet yourself around the map at Mark Holy Shit. Vehicles as well, while they need a lot of work, also feel like they carry some serious weight in Battlefield 6 and momentum that really help to sell the aesthetic and the gameplay of being in a gritty war environment. I don't know, man, there's just something so airy and floaty about the way vehicles are designed in Battlefield 2042 that, again, it just strips me away from that sense of immersion of being in a Battlefield game. And just keeping that proverbial ball rolling as well for a second here, guys, the gunplay. Oh my god, the gunplay. Battlefield 2042's gunplay, coming back to it after Battlefield 6, is some of the most weightless, skillless, point-and-click adventure-y gunplay that I have ever seen in not just a Battlefield game, but actually in gaming more generally from time to time. Weapons just feel flat to fire. Like, the sense of recoil conversion is not well communicated in this game, but they also feel incredibly laser beamy in nature. You know, like the curve of skill expression that is available to you in Battlefield 2042 just feels like it's been completely annihilated into a flat curve at the best of times. I mean, let's take the F2000 assault rifle as an example here. This gun just came out as part of the latest battle pass and is practically a CQC assault rifle that gives the likes of the AEK a run for its money. Now, with that information in mind, what do you think the effective range of this weapon is limited to? 35 meters? 40 meters? Maybe even 50 meters? Yeah, no, this gun can accurately laser beam targets with minimal bursting all the way out to 100 meters if your aim is good enough. And in the world of Battlefield weapon design and balance, that is straight up diabolical. And I'll be real, as I've been jumping through Battlefield 2042's weapons, just, you know, getting my hands on more again for variety's sake, yeah, the rate of fire and the damage models often differ between the weapons, and so do the recoil patterns, but it still feels like a sense of depth and a sense of impact is just missing from these weapons entirely. They feel weightless, flat, like the rest of the game. Look, I know I'm complaining here a lot, guys, despite the improvements that Battlefield 2042 has made. And once again, I acknowledge that Battlefield 2042, by comparison to where it was on day one, is a night and day comparison. However, I think what Battlefield 2042 also really sort of illustrates for us here is that you can only polish a turd so much to the point where there's nothing else you can do with it. The core underlying groundwork of Battlefield 2042 was so destroyed and so haphazardly put together that it's had flow-on impacts on how the game plays and feels for as long as it's been out to the public. And the implications of that means that, yes, it has turned into a passable first-person shooter game, but it still lacks the source and the core underlying gameplay that makes it a true and really enjoyable Battlefield game. The core underlying framework that's been laid for Battlefield 6 already, just in the beta alone, has felt stronger than Battlefield 2042 has ever been. And while that bar is again extremely low and it's very easy to make that comparison, I also view Battlefield 6 to be in a much healthier position as a result of that. Because, well, again, it's gotten the core underlying stuff right. It's gotten the gunplay right. It's gotten the sense of movement right. It's gotten the gritty, war-like aesthetic right, which means this time around, DICE and Battlefield Studios are going to be able to focus on a live service model that spends most of its time adding stuff into the package that is Battlefield 6, rather than what Battlefield 2042 had to do, where it spent the first 8 months of its live service fixing what it had already brought out. And that right there fills me with far more confidence than 2042 ever could. And that is a good sign as well. But folks, that is going to be my little ramble for the day done and dusted. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, backhand the like button. It does go a long way to supporting the channel. Let me know in the comment section down below. Are you still playing Battlefield 2042 for the grind? Or have you resorted to the AFK XP boosting portal servers? Look, no shame in admitting that, guys, because let's be real, my mental health is declining ever since I started grinding out Battlefield 2042 again, let's be honest. Get subscribed for more Battlefield content right here on the channel, guys, as well as to catch all of our live streams right here on YouTube, or you can come check it out over on Twitch too. I'm multi-streaming these days, and it'd be great to see you guys over on some of the streams. But until next time, guys, peace out, and I will see you guys all in the next one.